so much of what we do as adults makes no sense even to us. Why am I worried every morning? Again, ask yourself the question. It's a key question for your viewers, listeners. When did the current behavior, which now doesn't seem to make sense, when did it once make sense? In what circumstances did this pattern develop, this pattern that is now, inverted commas, mad or destructive or boring or counterproductive? When did it make sense? And if you can start to see a logic, and there always will be one, I would suggest, there almost always will be one. There will be a moment when to feel anxious every morning was bound up with your safety and your survival to the next stage of life. So if you can recover contact with what that stage was, you'll then be in a position to honor the defensive strategy, but also say goodbye to it. The truth is better than we think. It's still tough. It's very, very tough. Those attachment ruptures in everyone's life, they're some of the most painful things we will ever have to go through. To build a life with someone and then see that life disappear. I mean, we need space to mourn. In Judaism, when someone dies, you lose a spouse, you're allowed a year of mourning. You wear black, and you're allowed a year of mourning where not too much is expected of you, both professionally and personally. You can go a bit mad, and that's all right. Everyone looks after you. They know you're in mourning. We kind of need that when we're heartbroken, when we're serious, because we're dealing with something that is, from an emotional point of view, as serious. This is as serious this literally is a loss. Someone has died, and so we need that space. So to come back to your question, how to break up, to be able to explain diplomatically, kindly, generously, some of the real reasons why, and as the person who's leaving, not to feel that those reasons, not to be ashamed of those reasons. People feel relationships don't have to go on forever. Sometimes relationships have a sell-by date. They are there. They were formed for a particular purpose, unconscious, to carry us to a next stage. And maybe that stage has come to an end for someone. And we can explain that. We can try and, verbalize that. But also clarity. And sometimes people try to be kind in ways that end up being very, very cruel. I want to leave you, but let's go on holiday together. Really? Is that a wise thing? Or I want to leave you, but let's be in touch every day. And I'll just still call you what I used to call you. When we were very intimate. That's tough. That's tough. So we may, couples may, out of kindness, out of mutual respect, go. There's still a lot of love, still a lot of affection, but probably we shouldn't be in touch that much for a little while.
You think it's a bad idea for exes to try and be friends?
Look, it depends, but I think there needs to be healing, doesn't there? There needs to be a break that's marked and honored so that two people can recover.
Interesting movement at the moment, almost towards denial. We've got, the horseshoe has horseshoed back around it. It's been rotated a couple of times. And I wonder whether this is just a requisite pushback to some of the over-pathologization of normal human emotions. The use of therapy language online, that somebody hasn't been mean to me, they've caused me trauma, that person isn't selfish, they're a narcissist.
Exactly.
And I'm starting to see now a little bit more of a lean away from reflecting on why you are the way you are. And again, it's very much, this is just one cohort of people saying that cohort of people over there, their strategy doesn't work for me, and vice versa.
Yeah. Look, we're a car that needs different gears. Sometimes we need to go forward, sometimes we need to go backwards, we need to turn right, we need to turn left. We need full maneuverability, right? And I think when people discover an exciting idea, the great tendency is to go, well, this toolkit will explain absolutely everything.
Correct.
And this will be the only thing I need. And, this is why we need the whole history of ideas. This is why a well-stocked mind has got in it, some books on the Stoics, as it were, some ideas from the Stoics, some ideas about, resilience and about shutting down emotion and about turning towards pain and all that. We need that. Sometimes we need an aristocratic side. We might have read Nietzsche and his aristocratic sense of, needing to overcome and, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, etc. Sometimes we need Nietzsche. But if you're only dieting on Nietzsche, you may also need, John Bowlby and attachment theory. But if you're only snacking on John Bowlby, so we need a well-stocked mind. And I think that, as I say, I appreciate that people fall so in love with certain ideas that they think that's all they're going to need. It's rather, it's monotheism. Only one God.
Correct. Yes.
And the great thing about paganism, ancient Roman or Greek religion, but finally in India too, and other parts of the world, there were many gods. There was the god of the river, but there was also the god of the sky, and there was the god of the cloud, and there was the god of rain, and there was the god of sunshine, and many, many gods. And we need many gods. And just as in our social lives, let's remember, total monotheism doesn't, it's like, I need one lover and they will answer all my needs. That's quite tough on the lover. You may also need a friend who's brilliant at that thing, and there's a friend who's also good at this. So we need a paganism of ideas.
Yeah. My friend Gwynda has this idea called the golden hammer. When someone, usually an intellectual who has gained a cultish following for popularizing a concept, becomes so drunk with power, he thinks he can apply that concept to everything.
Exactly. Exactly. We think it's the hammer that,
the one size fits all. Yeah. And this is, everything looks like a nail that slots into your very specific, very fancy gilded piece of work. Yeah.
Look, but we can forgive it. It's very exciting when you come across an idea that you think and does explain a lot of the world. I mean, this is what happens when people discover Marxism. They think, oh my goodness, this model explains everything. And then, no, it's really good at explaining certain things. And then they discover Freud. And they think, Freudianism, it explains everything. No, go steady. We need multiple tools.
I wonder whether this helps to constrain some of the complexity of the world as well. Well, if I have one book, if it's meditations, or if it's some ancient Chinese text, if we're looking at some Lao Tzu or something, and you think, well, that one thing answers everything. I don't need to look elsewhere.
Yes.
And the problem is that we're finite creatures, surrounded by infinite complexity. Yes. So the battlefield is stacked somewhat. The deck is offset against our favor. And if we can constrain down the complexity that we're fighting with, we say, we've got this one person and he's got all of the answers. One guy has all of the answers. Why? I don't necessarily.
Sure. And, we see it in religion, we see it in politics. One person has got has got everything. And it can't be true. But you're right. I mean, we're drowning in inputs, and that leads us to a certain kind of, remorseless quest for the one input. And I remember there was reading a book, there's a line saying something like, all of us are going to die with a book half read on our bedside. It may not literally be true, but there's capturing something important there, that our exploration will be unfinished. It's quite daunting. It's very sad thought, that we won't. And of course, the book that we really won't have finished reading is the book of ourselves. We won't have understood more than a share of ourselves. That's very frightening. We'll have, on an average gravestone, it should say, here lies, who half understood who they were. They only half understood. And that's very weird. Like you have, you're on your deathbed and you don't really know who you have been.
Was it Goethe that on his deathbed pronounced, nobody really knows me. I don't really know anybody else. Nobody knows anyone really.
Yeah. So that kind of despair.
Surrounded by friends and family. What a way to curtain call. See you later on.
Yeah.